Hey, everybody.
What the heck is going on?
I feel like this week has just flown by. I feel like we were just on here like a couple hours ago when it was Tuesday night. Um, Hope everybody's doing good tonight. We uh we don't have like a firm topic tonight. We do have like a quite a couple interesting news stories we were going to talk about, and that'll take up some time. And then we thought we'd just chit chat about whatever tonight. But how's Dan doing? I didn't get to talk
I'm
to you
doing
much.
great. Doing great.
Good, good. Got a you're gonna at least be at your work for another year. It sounds like, and uh, uh, yeah, which is good.
Maybe.
Yeah,
There's good and
um,
bad.
yeah, yeah. Is what made you get into your job that you had? Like you've had it forever, but like how'd you get into that?
Into
Just like a
machining or into the place where I work?
machining.
Into machining, it was just a like the God-given way of life when I was young. I mean, everybody, you either went to college or you went to the machine shops.
Oh, really?
What you did. I mean, literally, there was just factories and machine shops everywhere when I was a kid, and that's in Milwaukee was the hub of machining. My
Mm,
dad was a machinist. I mean, all the people I knew were machinists. And I just went and did the same thing. I went and applied at machine shops. It was hard to get a job back in those days, so you'd have to stand in lines and go against men who had long resumes, and you had nothing. I
yeah.
remember I had a way of getting into shops, and what I would do is I would they'd give everybody an interview, and I would tell the guy, I'd say, I know you got people that are that seem more skilled than me and that have better resumes and stuff, but they don't work harder than me,
Yeah.
and they don't try harder, and they don't, and I'm willing to learn anything. And all you have to do is give me a chance, and to prove that, let me come in here for a day and show you just how hard I can work and how good I can work, and I'll do it for free. And if you don't like what I do, just tell me to go home, and I'm good with that. If you don't like
Yeah.
my work, and I never had to do one of those free days, but I got my foot in the door out of a lot of places.
Right.
Times were different back then.
Yep.
My
It's
first
good.
job was for 50 cents an hour at a farm.
Yeah.
That's what I made. And
It's
then
not very
when I
much.
left that farm, like 15 years later, I was making $1.50.
Was that the story where your dad kind of made you do it because the farmer's son passed away?
Yeah,
Okay, I
I
thought
was nine
so.
years old when I took that job. He got killed. He got killed in the barn where I worked. They just put me in the same job he was doing.
Yeah, man. What year would have that been?
I was 9 years old, so uh, 76, 1976.
My first
His
job was a.
his kid took a hay bale, and he had gloves on.
Mm-hmm.
He grabbed it by the strings, and he threw it down from the upstairs down the hay chute,
Mm-hmm.
and his fingers stuck, and he was just a little skinny kid.
Yeah.
It pulled him through, and his hands were stuck in this bale, and he went head first into the concrete, down in the bottom of the barn, and he
Jeez.
never came back for supper. So the old man went over looking for him and found him.
Gosh, couldn't imagine. I couldn't
Back in
imagine.
those days, a lot of kids died on farms.
Yeah.
You get caught in the tractors and stuff, and
Yeah. Hmm. My first job, I think I got paid $4.50 an hour, so I was significantly ahead of you.
no, it was different times.
I know it was
I
in
was
like
making a
probably
lot more than
2000.
450 when you were making 450.
I was about the same age though. I think I was 10 or 11, but I worked at a local golf course. I just cleaning is all I did. Clean the little pro shop and the golf carts. I'd have to clean the golf carts too. That's it though. Um,
I remember
but
when I was machining back in the 80s and even up in the 90s, and thinking, man, $20 an hour was the highest wages in the world. I remember Harley was paying 27.50
yeah,
for a machine operator job, and I was trying to get that job, and that was I think that was in '89, and I was thinking, man, how much money that would be, and
yeah,
I didn't get the job, and now I would have never dreamed that nowadays machinists are making $40 an hour. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And you can't even get anybody to come in and work for that price, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know my grandma told me that her and grandpa never made in their whole lives. Of course, they retired in the 90s, way long time ago. But her and grandpa combined never made over like $11 an hour or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
And I think she like remembers when grandpa got over at like $10 an hour, and she was like, wow, that's
We
great.
made it.
Yeah. Oh, but they did they didn't spend money back then like people do now either. It's like my grandma, she's 93 and she's still living off of it, and according to her, she's going to be fine until she dies, So,
Yeah, I remember
goes to
when I was
show.
a kid, my mom going grocery shopping and spending $40 or $50 and having 2 grocery carts completely full of groceries,
Yeah.
and saying, "Isn't it outrageous how much these groceries are costing?"
Yeah. Oh, you can't even make a quick trip to a grocery store
Put
right now.
2 hamburgers in the grocery cart and a box of Monsters, and it's $40.
Yeah, I know. I bought what did I buy the other day? A bag of almonds. Trying to, we always try to eat healthy, and that's like a healthy snack, but it was like $11 for a freaking bag of almonds. I'm like, gosh, crazy. But also like back then, they didn't have internet bill, they didn't have cell phone bills, they didn't have, a lot of times you just had one vehicle, and that was you paid new $5,000 for it or less. So it's definitely different, but
I remember how crappy cars were back in those days too. You would break down all the time. Yeah, and road trips were always an adventure. You'd blow tires all the time and stuff. Stuff was not as good built as it is now, as far as cars go. And I think a lot of people probably don't realize that, but I remember that. You go down the street and blow tires all the time, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But then again, everybody had so little money that you'd go down to the junkyard to buy your tires. You go down to the junkyard to get a new set of tires, new used tires.
Well, people were just more thrifty back then too. Like that's something you would do, just because why not? It saves you a little money. And I remember my grandpa like cracking walnuts in the barn and going and selling them just because like that was like extra money. And I don't know, things people don't do anymore for money.
Black walnuts?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did that when I was a kid. You never see anybody take them anymore. You just see them lay there.
Mm-hmm.
And black walnuts are awesome. If nobody's ever tried those, you should try them. We used to pick them, and we'd try to dry them without squirrels getting them, and squirrels would always find a way to get them. Even if you put them in a house, they'd smell them and chew through your walls.
Yeah.
But we used to always have junk cars laying around the yard. My dad would put them in the trunk, and eventually the squirrels would chew through the metal to get at them. But we'd dry them because otherwise you get all full of that oil.
Yeah.
And, then my dad would every day after work, he'd spend about an hour cracking them with a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he had a bushel basket of them cracked with a hammer, because they're not like regular nuts. You can't crack them with a nut cracker. They're so heavy, of course.
Yeah.
And then after he had them cracked with a hammer, then he would finish cracking them with a nut cracker. And then he would take one of them poker things and poke all the nuts out. And it would take him like a month to fill a mason jar.
Yeah.
Of black walnuts. And they were so strong next to regular walnut that eating them raw was really hard because they're overwhelming, like a vanilla flavor, like really strong. Yeah. But if you cook them into nuts and stuff, they're way better than any nut. If you cooked them into a bread, or those wild nuts were awesome. You had those, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I never talked to too many people that lived like we used to live. We lived off the land. We ate a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, my grandparents, like every night it was either deer meat or like crappie and bluegill, or whatever. That's about it. My grandpa pretty well kept the freezers full of that stuff when I was little. Like I never remember him ever like having beef or anything. Now my grandma she prefers beef. That's what she eats now. But I think just because she's kind of over. She's over the hard work of it. She's 92 or 3 now. So, But yeah, my grandpa, I remember he would, he'd take me fishing in the summertime when school was out. Uh, and I remember getting up at like 4 a.m. to go fishing with him. And he would even, when he would cook breakfast, like he would fry us eggs, in the morning, and he'd put deer meat in them. Like he just mixed deer meat in there. Like he always had to have some kind of meat in them or something. It's just like, it was real funny. And then something else, and I guess this is kind of contradicting, but he always had that, like, I'm going to try to pronounce it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's like Braunschweiger or some kind of sausage. You remember that stuff? I think it's called like Braunschweiger. And it was like this really soft, mushy sausage. Anyways, I just remember him always having that too. And he'd bring it fishing with us. And then he'd sit there and get that out of the cooler and cut a piece off for me with his fish hands and his pocket knife that's been who knows where, and we'd eat that for, it's like liver sausage. That's right, Joe. It's a couple people.
My mom would always go to the store and she'd buy chicken gizzards and and goofy parts like that. And when we would go fishing, she'd want you to tie some to like a heavy string, like not like fishing string, like a heavy string.
Yeah.
And throw it out near the shore and catch crayfish for boil afterwards. Well, you catch, how many crayfish you're going to catch? You catch 5 of them, So we kept trying to catch crayfish. We store them till we had enough for a boil, but you wouldn't get very many. And then one day, my mom says, "I'm going to teach you how to catch crayfish." I'm like, okay. I was a little kid. I was probably like 6 or 8 or something. I mean, pretty little.
Yeah.
And she went in the garage and she got out an old screen. You know how back in the day you used to keep things like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You'd store everything. Everything would be reused because you didn't have a lot of money. So she got this screen out, window screen. And they had wooden frames in those days, not like nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So she cut off the bottom window. So it was just one panel with a screen in it.
Mm-hmm.
And nailed a board over the top of it, like a 2x4. So it's like a net. And she says, now you go in the river, take that, scrape it along the bottom and go under the bushes and pull it up and it'll be full of crayfish. You work your way down the stream. So I took that thing down to the river and man, did I catch the crap in that thing. Not just crayfish, fish and
really
little bass, little turtles. One time I got a muskrat in it. I didn't catch it, but it dove out. But it was like, you never knew what was going to come up in that net if you went up under the bushes. But I would fill buckets full of crayfish and we'd have these boils. And I remember those crayfish boils. And even when my kids were growing up, I took Jamie one day and I said, I'm going to teach you how to catch crayfish. And I went and found one of them screen nets and showed him that. And he said, you're a stupid old man. Who would do that? Different times.
Yeah. I remember too. My grandpa he lived in this same exact house that I'm sitting in right now. And across the cornfield, his friend George lived in a little shack, and I'm not even sure if it's there anymore, but it was like the shack was the size of this room, and it had a lean-to off the front of it. He was just a single old man. I'm not really sure if he ever got married or anything, but him and my grandpa were like best friends, and he just lived like in the back of the property, like on the he was the neighbor or whatever. He had a trail, a 4-wheeler trail through my grandpa's land up to my grandpa's house, and he would go with us fishing, and he only had one leg, and he was like a chain smoker, like he smoked one after the other, and he ended up having diabetes or whatever, something. That's how he lost his leg. But they told me when I was little that a catfish bit it off when they were fishing one day, and so for the longest time when I was little, we'd catch every now and again bluegill fishing, or crappie fishing. You catch a catfish, or we'd check a trout line when we were out there and they'd have a big catfish. And that thing would be, my grandpa just had like a 12-foot John boat. And that thing would be laying in the bottom of the boat. And I would just be sitting there just staring at it. Like I'd want to be on the other side of the boat because they freaking told me that it bit George's leg off. But that guy, George, I don't remember a lot about him, but he always would catch like off game things fishing. Like he caught a snake one time, I remember, and he caught a duck one time. And my grandpa would always get real frustrated with him about that. I remember. I also remember him falling asleep every time, like driving back from the lake. He'd fall asleep with a cigarette in his mouth and he'd wake up when it burned him and stuff. But Yeah. Yeah, that's different days back then. I miss them though. That was like I fond memories of doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we could tell stories about the old times all day.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be a good show actually. My when I was little, my cousins, I mean, real little. My cousins are all older than me. I'm like one of the youngest grandkids, and they all had their license, and I'd be like 5 or 6, real little, and they would take me out spotlighting with them whenever they'd go spotlighting at night. And you know what heat lightning is, right? Whenever like that, like the flashes in the sky when it's summertime out. They told me those were UFOs coming down to Earth whenever I saw that. So again, I'd be terrified, like when that stuff would start happening at night with them, and they'd be like, "Oh, here they come! The aliens are coming!" And that was the time when like Men in Black was real big, and all those alien movies were coming out. Oh man, they were mean to me, but anyway, that's another memory I have when I was little about getting scared to death by my family. Anyway, you want to talk about this article that we talked about earlier, Dan, the cow issue in New Mexico?
Yeah.
So it sounds like they in a particular WMA in Mexico, or a forest in Mexico, they got about 150 feral cattle right now. And there's a big controversy because it's probably happened. It's probably happened today, actually. I think it was today they're going to do it. But essentially, they're going to spend 4 days with a helicopter in the skies. Everybody was supposed to get off of the land, and they're going to shoot these feral cattle.
And just leave them rot.
Yep, and just leave them rot. And it's a kind of created a huge uprising down there in New Mexico, it sounded like, with a lot of the ranchers and just general public, because how unethical it is to do that. And you made a good point about
a bunch of Nancy's in bureaucratic offices decided that it's too dangerous to be out there with cows out there. They might charge you or something. And instead of giving sportsmen an opportunity to go onto this land and shoot them and harvest them and take them, they didn't even try anything like that. They just decided to go out with helicopters and just mow them all down.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been a great opportunity to like allocate tags for them. And
I'd have went down there just for one reason, if no other reason.
What's that?
Just so that I could look at the camera and go, "Got me a cow."
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that happens a lot, and people don't even know about it. Like bears, not necessarily out of helicopters, but I know out west there's a lot of government employees that shoot, a quota of bears or just other kind of dangerous species. In some places you can't hunt, those certain species. Like maybe you can't hunt a bear in the springtime, or they take a spring bear hunt away because the general left don't like bear hunting. And like for example, Colorado, all the voting's done in Denver, so that is a very liberal
so they'd rather
city.
Have some bureaucrat kill it and leave it lay.
Yeah. But then what those people don't realize is that the government of Colorado, I'm just using Colorado as an example, but they go in and shoot the bears anyway, and then they don't make it. And then you're actually paying a government employee to go in there and do this instead of making some revenue from selling tags and all that stuff.
It just goes down to what I've been saying, like with the DNR biologists in my county. They're making decisions without asking the people, or taking what the people think into perspective. And they work for us. That's what they're not getting. You know what I mean? That's that whole Democrat side of things. Where like the conservative side thinks, let me do anything I want as long as I don't hurt anybody else or threaten anybody else. I should be able to do as I want as long as it's not affecting other people. Where the other side says, do as I do because I'm more righteous. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
They just think that their way of life and their way of thinking is the way to think for everybody. I mean, you get into a government office, you're supposed to be working for the people that voted you there, not for yourself or for or because you're a better person who knows more than the rest of the people. You're supposed to work for us. And I really don't like these government agencies, especially the DNR, deciding for us what we, that they should kill the animals and they shouldn't let us hunt and they shouldn't do this and shouldn't do that. That just ticks me off. And I think it was only I think that feral herd only got up to like 150 some animals.
That's what they said, 150 animals.
They could have allowed a hunt, and I bet you they would have brought people in from all over the place. They could have even made money from it.
Yeah,
they could have charged $200 for a cow tag. They could even charge more than that, $500 for a cow tag. And there's a lot of people that probably would have went out there and went cow hunting. And why not? I mean, beef is good meat. Why not let them hunt it?
Yeah. And it would not have been a hard hunt. I mean, I've hunted in places where there's like free ranging cattle on, ranchers have them loose on public land. Out west, it's very common. And I mean, they're a little bit spooky, but not like a wild animal, And I assume this is what these things have come from, is like ranching cattle that's gotten loose or, didn't get collected over the rancher didn't do his duty of wrangling them up. So then eventually they have little ones, and those little ones have little ones, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of unmarked cows running around. I think that's what happened, it sounds like. But yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I guess maybe if it was like an immediate problem that needed to be solved quickly, then yeah. But it sounds like this has been going on. People finally started complaining about them because they were.
Yeah, I think they're eating the vegetation down.
Yeah, trampling around in the creeks and making them.
And they're polluting the creeks.
Yeah,
and they said that there's even a little bit of a hazard because the bulls would charge people. They could hurt somebody or something. And that's probably why they didn't want hunters in there. But you know what? A bear can eat a person. A grizzly bear can eat a mountain lion can kill a person. Just let the people hunt.
Yeah.
And stop being bureaucrats.
Yeah. Wild hog, look at them things. They'll charge you. Now, granted, they're not a 1,000-pound animal, but
that's the same thing as what they did here with the CWD when it first started. They just said they were going to kill everything, despite the hunters not wanting to, and they started going out with helicopters mowing them down. Yeah. That's how they started it here, but there was so much negative feedback because we had a fit about it that they stopped. But that is a little different. In order to kill all the deer, which was the goal, they couldn't have done it with hunters.
Yeah, true.
However, they still need hunter feedback. They need hunter input, I think. They need to work for the people, not for themselves.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, got another little thing we wanted to talk about tonight. There was an absolute giant buck found in Indiana the other day, a deadhead. Let me get it up here on the screen here. It'll just take a second. Here it is. It's been going around the internet, but if it'll play for me, there it goes. It's kind of lagging for some reason, but anyways, there it is. There's a good picture of it. A 211-inch deadhead. That's what they said. In Sullivan County, Indiana, which is like, I think it's like around Terre Haute, so be west central Indiana.
I would say by now that guy probably has gotten about 72 people who shot that thing and want their head back.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I'd have been getting a salvage tag on that thing pretty quickly. Because I think once you get a salvage tag, that trumps everything else.
Mm-hmm. If I found it and somebody came to me and they could show me proof that they shot it, I'd give it to them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would too if they could prove they shot it.
But, if they had video or something, but I wouldn't just take somebody's word for it.
Yeah, me either. I found a deadhead the other day again. I found two this year now.
Every 5 minutes.
Do what?
You find them every 5 minutes.
This was laying in the hills.
Literally, for those people listening to this that think I'm exaggerating, we walk in the woods and he'll point over at a ridge 4 miles away and say, "Hey, there's a deadhead up there." I'm like, "Up where?" It'll be like on that ridge. I'm like, "I can't even see the trees from here." And he'll walk over there and it'll take him 2.5 hours and he'll come back with a deadhead. don't know what it is with him.
I don't know either. This was a nice one. It was like probably 135-inch 8-pointer. It was old though.
You'll find sheds and you'll look at the shed and I'll be like, there's nothing laying there. And you'll move all the leaves away and buried under the leaves is the shed. It's like a shed dog. You can smell them.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could smell them. That'd make things a lot easier. That's funny. I just put the link to call in if anybody wants to call in tonight. I had a couple people actually ask me about calling in. So if you guys want to call in and talk or ask questions, yeah, that's something else I was going to say. That Dr. Strickland, right, Dan, the deer biologist.
Sure.
He was on a podcast the other day, the Hunter podcast. He was, and it was all about CWD. I haven't listened to it, but I'm going to when I get some time. I don't know what his exact thoughts are about it, but he seems like a pretty smart guy when it comes to deer. Sorry, Dan, you're probably not reading the comments. I'm reading the comments. People are talking about CWD in the comments section. That's why that came up.
You got reasons for what you're talking about.
Yeah. But anyways, it does seem like, at least for the most part, most states are managing CWD in a better way than what you guys went through there in Wisconsin a number of years ago.
Unfortunately, we set an example and everybody started going that trend for a while, but they're starting to get their brains back.
Yeah. What's the biggest deadhead you found, Dan? You found some big ones, haven't you? Don't you have one of your daughter found, like her?
Yeah, that's not. We didn't find that. A friend found that. With it. That was in the 190s. I'm trying to think. The biggest ones I've found are probably 160s. Haven't found any bigger than that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever found one that big.
60s.
But I found a bunch of them this year for some reason, and they're old ones too. I found the one I shot at him and missed him a few years back, and I found him. Here's a question for you, Dan. You have any plans of like making a B Stick 2.0 before he orders a set right now?
Nothing in the near future, because right now I'm working on stands.
Yeah. I'd say you're safe to order some sticks right now without having to buyer's remorse.
Yeah, I would say too that there's nothing going to come out this year for sure, and the sticks, you'll never be dissatisfied with them. The sticks are great, and if there's ever anything better, trust me, you'll sell those for what you paid for them.
Yeah,
there's people buying and selling them for a profit, and buying our stands and selling them for a profit, and we don't necessarily like that, because I just want them to be available for everybody at a reasonable price. You know what I mean? But it's really good equipment, and if you buy it, you'll love what you get. Trust me, it's worth the money, and it keeps its value.
Yep. I think almost everybody seconds that, and that's used them. It's pretty well known that most people think those are the best on the market for as far as what we do is mobile hunting. All right. Here's a question for you, Dan. Have you ever hunted close to Lake Michigan? I'm talking close where you can hear the waves.
I have not, but I've scouted stuff near the lake. There is some thermal issues that come up, but I haven't really hunted down there. It gets a pretty good thermal pull to it at times, because the temperature of that lake can vary greatly from the land. It can be warmer or it can be colder, and just have a constant thermal that fights the wind.
Yeah.
You get swirling from that too when they're fighting each other.
That's what he was asking about, was if there's challenges with the wind.
Yeah, it can come inland as much as a mile, depending on strength from the water,
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool to shoot something hearing the waves come in.
You remember that doe I shot on the Public Land Challenge in Michigan? That one ran into, what is that, Lake Huron or whatever lake that is on the other side of Michigan?
Yeah.
It ran out there in the reeds, just kept running deeper and deeper. You could hear it sloshing and splashing out there.
Yep. All right. I can't pronounce anybody's names on these last couple questions, but do you feel like synthetic sprays and other cover scents hinder your hunt? Do deer learn to associate those scents with humans?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think that synthetic sprays would probably alert a deer, but I also believe that if he's smelling the synthetic spray, he's smelling you, and your smell is going to be worse to him than the synthetic spray. I do think that they make synthetic scents and smells so well nowadays that they can make them where it doesn't spook deer, but I don't think it's doing you any good. I don't think synthetic sprays or sprays of any sort are helping you.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you touched a container and you spray it out there, they're smelling you. They're smelling where you went. They're smelling where your scent blew on the ground. They're smelling you in the air. They're smelling you everywhere. Their sense of smell is so strong, you're not beating it except for playing the wind. So I think just the fact that you're using that stuff is going to be a hindrance, not necessarily that it itself doesn't work. I do think deer scents, scent removers and stuff work. They just don't work good enough to beat a deer's nose.
Yep. You're that sparked a memory again about my grandpa. But I was walking. I walk on my treadmill with my pack on, and I was walking today thinking, and I remember whenever I was younger, my dad and everybody that we all use those sprays, the like Scent Away or whatever it was called, and my grandpa he'd always like real nonchalantly be like, "Can I have a little bit of that?" And because he never bought any of that crap, and we'd like spray him with it, but he'd be like, "All right, that's enough," and he'd always be afraid of it being too much on him. I don't know why, but I just vividly remember him always just wanting a little bit, just want a couple sprays on him. What are we doing?
Yeah, I know. Guys have poured all over their boots and all kinds of crap.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was a phase back in the mid '80s when they started making synthetic cover scents.
Yeah,
there was two big ones. One was fox, and one was skunk, and they could make a skunk spray, the same stuff that comes out of a skunk, separated into two chemicals. And when you take 3 drops out of each, they'd give you 2 bottles. And you take 3 drops out of one bottle and 3 drops out of the other. And when you put the 3 drops together, it would be the same thing that came out of a skunk, and it would be so strong, it'd be the same thing, just like a skunk just sprayed. But if you put more than 3 drops, you get, just like you got sprayed. I mean, it'd be really bad.
Yeah.
So they claimed that if you put that out there, a deer couldn't smell you because you would smell the skunk. Instead of you, it would be a cover scent, which was hogwash, because if they got downwind, they'd smell you and the skunk because deer's smell is so strong. But anywho, for a while, they had people buffaloed into buying that stuff. And being a deer hunting machine, every gift and everything I got had to do with hunting.
Right.
So somebody in my family, I don't remember who bought it, but somebody bought me that for Christmas. So here he sit with this thing of skunk spray, this teenage kid looking at this stuff going, what the hell do I do with this? So I did what any teenage kid would do. I took it to school, and I put 3 drops of each bottle in the hallway, and they had to shut the school down for a day.
No way.
Right. So we all got sent home, and I think it actually took more than a day because they had to clean the halls and stuff. And so I don't know if Rick's watching this, but Rick went to school with me, so he probably remembers this. I don't remember ever discussing it with him. He might not even know I was the guy. But so anyways, we get back to school, and I'm like, well, that was pretty cool, so I'll do that again. So I did it again, and then I put a lot out. I poured out a big portion of 2 bottles together, and it was so bad they had to shut the school down for 3 days. They found it, and they had to have it scrubbed up and cleaned by a cleaning company. And then when we went back, I thought, you know what I'm going to do? And I didn't tell nobody. I kept it a total secret. I thought, I'm going to put this in a balloon. And I'm going to take that balloon, and I'm going to throw it into the venting system outside that blows the air into the school. And I had the stuff in my jacket pocket, and I was sitting in study hall, and all of a sudden the doors came flying open, and in came walking Truck and Broad, who was the principal, and Manchester. Manchester was the vice principal at the time, and they're storming into this place just looking angry, and I'm looking around like, whoa, who are they looking for? And they come right to me, and they knocked me right out of my desk and dragged me out the door. And I'll never forget that. They were so mad. They put me against the wall, flipped open my jacket pocket, knew right where those scents were. And I don't know how to this day how they knew it was me, because I never told anybody. And then when Manchester pulled those bottles out, the principal, Truck and Broad, punched me right in the mouth. He lost his temper, split my lip open. And back in those days, my dad told me I deserved it.
Yeah, right. And you did,
it probably saved punched me because he felt bad about it. So I didn't get kicked out of school. I only got a 3-day suspension. But as a kid, you don't even realize you're doing that much damage, how much you're screwing up the whole system, all that stuff. But yeah, I was a little bit of a wild child.
Right. Yeah, you just think you're playing some harmless prank, and in reality, you're costing the school, all that much cleaning and everything else. Yeah, there was some stuff like that done in our not quite where they had to clean the whole school, but it was man, kids are brutal. All right. Mike asked if I can share a story of the biggest buck that got away from me. I mean, the one that sticks in my mind the most is I ended up shooting at a few weeks later, but it was that 150s buck I have back here, but it was like probably October 28th, and he came right into me. I was sitting on a little point that goes out into a cornfield, and he was cruising down the edge of the cornfield, checking for does, and he ended up coming to this point right to me. He was probably, I don't know, 8 yards from me, and I was hunting with a stick bow, and essentially I was in a Summit Viper climber, and he was one of those deals where he had to take one more step out from underneath the tree, and he was like 8 yards with my longbow, and I just smoked him, and just for some reason he just decided he stopped there and kind of just backed up and went back out into the cornfield. That deer, that one really is burnt in my mind, but I ended up shooting him later on that year, but it was that was pretty traumatic. I thought about him a lot that year until I shot him, but that was definitely my biggest. I've had lots of encounters with deer of lesser caliber than him that I didn't get or missed or whatever else, but that one for some reason or another, mostly because I just thought, I was like, he's dead. He's walking right here. He's just the perfect trail and everything, and he just, like they always do, he must have caught a little scent or something and bugged out of there. But that was probably my biggest that got away from me. You had a giant get away, didn't you, Dan?
Oh, a lot of giants. I was just thinking about that. Yeah. Pity you. You got them anyway.
Well, I can't really tell you I've ever had I've never killed a 180-inch deer. So when I was young, I was hunting with my cousin, and it was before I had my license. I'm not sure what year it was, but maybe 13 or 14 years old. And there was a giant that came by, but it was like he walked by at 40 yards, which is pretty far out of my range at that moment. He walked right to my cousin, and my cousin didn't get a shot at him. So that's probably his biggest buck. He's never that got away from him. But I was also 14, so I don't know. Your perception of things back then are different now. I've seen a whole lot of deer since then. So it may have been like a 140. I don't know. But he told me it was a giant. So Derek, thanks for the donation, man. I appreciate it. Dan, nobody else in your family really hunts, do they?
Not really. My brother Pete hunted a little, not much.
Yeah.
He told me when he come back from Vietnam, he didn't want to hurt anything or shoot anything.
Yeah.
My brother Jerry, he shot some deer and stuff. He got a couple nice bucks. not nice, but
Yeah.
for your average person, and went to Vietnam and came back and don't want to be anywhere near a gun.
Yeah.
My brother Bob hunted, but he got messed up in alcohol and other
Yeah.
stuff, and ended up kind of going off on his own. And that's it. I've been pretty much on my own. So when they came back from Vietnam, you got to remember I was pretty little.
Yeah.
So I pretty much grew up hunting on my own. My dad had too much compassion for animals. He didn't like killing them. He liked eating them, and he liked me killing them. But there was a couple times when he went out with me when I was little. When just once or twice when he walked with me, not very often at all, just once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered he would never be the one to pull the trigger. He'd go shoot that or something. I don't even think he put a bullet in his gun. I think he just, I don't think he had it in him.
Yeah.
So it was all me.
Yeah. That the more I like learn about Vietnam, that's pretty sad time in America, like for the soldiers and stuff. It seems like the vast majority of guys that came back from there just, something quite wasn't right, just
the wars back in those days were harder than they are now. Not to say our soldiers don't go through something. I'm not downplaying any of that.
Yeah.
But
Vietnam, they didn't have we have technology now.
Massive casualties.
Mm-hmm.
My dad went through that in World War II, and my brothers went through that in Vietnam. And my brother has told me some of the things he went through, and I won't discuss those things, but he saw, his best friends get blown up in pieces in front of him and stuff, and it's
you pretty much you pretty much just said it right there.
Yeah.
I know I have an uncle that was
bad,
I have an uncle that same exact stories. I mean, just horrible stuff. I got yelled at in a like a Rural King or a Fleet Farm by a Vietnam vet. Did I ever tell you about that, Dan?
They dressed in camouflage.
Yeah, I was in.
You had a shirt on that said "I'm a vet." And,
No, I didn't. No,
I'm just kidding.
I had to go and buy something. I can't remember what it was, but I had to go to Fleet Farm, and I was getting ready to go hunting. I had like a camo shirt on, and he came up to me and he was like, "Where'd you serve, soldier?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just deer hunting." And man, he just, I just felt bad for him. He was obviously something was not right, and man, that's rough. I
had somebody make a comment about me wearing camouflage in Fort McCoy too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not in the fort, but outside of the fort at a gas station.
Yeah.
I mean, some people think you shouldn't be able to wear military camo, and I think what they think is you're wearing it because it's cool.
Oh yeah,
which is not the case. I wear camouflage because I hunt.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't have. This wasn't military camo. It wasn't. It was probably Realtree or something. Some kind of camo like that. But anyway,
I was wearing military because I was wearing like the stuff you can buy real cheap. What do you recall it?
Yeah,
surplus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, yeah. If anybody is a soldier listening, we appreciate it and all that. You're better man than I am. It's something I never did. Anybody? Do you have any weird hunting traditions, Dan?
Weird hunting traditions?
Yeah, or hunting traditions in general.
I don't know.
I don't really have. Traditions like. Here's my opinion on traditions. I guess, like I've never really had any kind of hunting traditions at all. It's like my whole family, we just never really stopped messing with it. Like we never had like it's our tradition to get together on opening day because we'd all been hunting, all through bow season or whatnot. So growing up, we never.
One thing for me, the tradition is like the
gun drive.
Gun drives, yeah, but because I could probably do a lot better hunting without them. Now, anyways, I was doing better with them at a point in time, but now I think I could do better without those drives by going in and hunting bedding areas one after another. But but I like getting together with my friends, and I just like it. and I don't really care
Yeah.
succeed that much that I end my friendships. That I, you see those
Yeah.
guys once a year, so
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
Yeah. We used to do the same thing. We do a bunch of deer drives the last weekend of season. It was kind of a tradition, but we quit doing that, 5 or 6 years ago. One of the guys that kind of was one of the, if we want to say, leaders of it, passed away, and some of the properties that because we went on some private pieces too, and kind of lost him once he passed away. And it'd be probably like if you passed away, Dan, it probably wouldn't be.
Yeah,
I don't know
probably
that.
none of those other guys would do it if I wasn't there, I don't think.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been pretty hard to do it what Dave did.
Yeah, right.
Dave was really the one that started that all with me, and
right.
When it started, it was me and him. Me and him used to do them by ourselves, and then it became trying to get somebody else to do it. My kids got to an age where they could do it, and then when the kids started moving on, we started trying to get more people in, and we always wanted a small group, and then the group started getting larger, and when Dave died, and then my kids ain't involved anymore, it's just it wasn't the same this year. It just wasn't. I'm not saying I didn't have fun. I didn't like seeing the guys and all that stuff, but it wasn't.
Right. Something was missing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And probably just a lonely feeling. Everybody kept bringing Dave up. That's all that, every conversation be like, what would Dave say? What would Dave do? And I sure miss Dave and everybody.
Yeah.
But he was a big part of it.
Yeah. All right. Redding asked, which state other than your home state is your favorite to hunt?
Man, that question gets asked a million different ways.
I know. I really liked Nebraska. I really enjoyed it out there.
Yeah, for the whole one day you've ever hunted there.
I hunted there in 2020 also, or 2021 also.
All right. For me, I mean, if I can't say Wisconsin, I would say Wisconsin because of my memories, my traditions, and my results here. But I guess if I enjoyed going someplace else, I like them all. I like whatever state I haven't been to yet. And Josh can attest to that because I'm always dragging him places that he's like, why there? So I like new places. But I guess if I was going to say a different state that I really enjoyed, I'd say probably Iowa.
Yeah.
I liked Iowa. Every time I hunted Iowa, even in different parts of Iowa, I always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I always saw a lot of deer. I always had a lot of fun. It was always easier hunting than other places I've been to. So Iowa would probably be the one I'd pick if I had to pick one. But really, wherever I haven't been.
Yeah. All right. Matt asked, do you think rub lines are made more at night when deer are transitioning from bedding to other areas to search for does, or do you see them using them during the day?
Do you want to answer that?
I mean, I could see a buck hitting a rub line if it was, close to bedding during daylight hours, but I don't know. I've never had like a lot of success like hunting a rub line. I guess not something I key in on for some reason or for one reason or another. I don't know.
My answer would be that deer are night animals. They can rub at any time. 95% of the time that they're active is at night. So 95% of the sign you're finding is at night, made at night. So in order for a rub or a rub line to be something worth looking at, you have to think about, was a deer here in daylight? Is it near his bedding area? Is it in the area that he moves in daylight, which is a very small area? And if it doesn't look like it's real close to the bedding or an area where he would live in daylight, my answer would be it's almost certainly done at night. Not to mention that in daylight, they're still a little nervous because it ain't dark yet. So most of your rubbing and stuff is done at night. When I key in on rubs, scrapes, or any sign like that, the only place I care about it is if it's close to bedding, where I think they move at night. So I'm looking at places I would set up. The only other thing I would say about rubs is if they're like on your leeward hills on the cruising height, they might be cruising through there in daylight and rubbing, especially near doe bedding. If you find rubs right next to doe bedding, they're probably doing that in daylight because they're doing it when the does are there. But for the most part, most of what you see, and especially rub lines, if you're going to food sources and stuff, those are most certainly usually made at night.
Yep. Dan just says those. That's essentially what I meant, but you say it much more eloquently than me. All right, Derek. He gave us a donation of $4.99. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He does have a question for us. He said, "What should I do? What should I be doing now for scouting to prepare myself for next season?" And Derek, we do have like a whole show kind of dedicated to this, but we can give you some tips right now, at least.
Yeah. The video that I just did, the one I just put up, is basically, I went out to where I seen a big buck, and I fine-tuned my setups. So I'm like, okay, I know where he came from. I know how he's traveling. I know the spot I had worked, but could it be better? Let's go find out exactly where he was bedding. Look at the travel route to where I was sitting. See if there's a better position. And I found a better position. And then I looked around for other spots and set up that area to kill either that buck or any other buck that moves into that area. And now I think I got that wood set up. So now I'll go on to the next property, then the next one, and the next one. And I'll basically figure out exactly where I should be sitting this fall based on last fall's sign that I'm finding now as the snow melts and setting up on it. But the first thing I do, the first thing I want to do when my season ends is go back to those ones that got away, or even if I killed one, because the bucks repeat themselves. They bed in the same spots. They move the same way. I'll go back to those spots and I'll backtrack those deer unless I already know it intimately. Then I don't go back. I'll go back to kill. But once I have that learned, then I'm fanning out and I'm finding as many situations where I can kill deer in daylight as I can and setting them up for next year. There's a short window from January to about green up. And then after that, then I'm doing a little more other things, like map scouting, cameras, things like that.
Yep. That covers it pretty well. Joel was asking Dan if you hunted public land in Iowa whenever you hunted Iowa.
You know, I haven't hunted much public land in Iowa. Most of the land I've hunted in Iowa has been private. But when I did the majority of my hunting in Iowa, it was in southwestern Iowa at a time when 99% of the doors you knocked on just go, you're bow hunting, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
So I would just knock on doors and hunt river bottoms over in southwest Iowa. When I hunted northwest Iowa, I hunted on a managed ranch. So that was a whole different ball game. But I haven't done a lot of public land hunting in Iowa, but I did go out and hunt a little bit of public in northwestern Iowa, a little swamp and a couple little properties that were adjacent to some farming, and one larger piece in southwest Iowa. But
yeah, what year?
A lot more public land hunting there this year, because this year that's all I'm looking at is public. I don't even plan on knocking on doors.
You haven't been in Iowa. I mean, how many years has it been, Dan?
Oh, probably close to 10.
Yeah. Okay. John, he asked, you think that big woods bucks, where there are wolves, still have set patterns, or are they less predictable? Thanks and love the show and content.
I think anytime you put pressure on animals like big bucks, they become more predictable, in my opinion. I think pressure has always helped me hunt them because it puts them where they belong. It puts them in predictable spots and in predictable patterns. So I think the pressure of the wolves, pressure of hunters, helps me. Where it hurts you is they kill these deer. You know, the wolves kill them,
yeah.
The hunters kill them, and that makes it harder to find them to hunt them if there's less of them. But if they're actually there, hunting pressure makes them easier to hunt. Whether it's wolves, whether it's people, whatever. You know, even look at the public land where I hunt. I mean, if you got cars in every parking lot, and there's 200 people on a 2,000 acre parcel. There's only so many places those big bucks can be if they're actually in there and alive. It makes it a lot easier to find them if you know they're there.
Yep. I want to go out west to like Idaho and hunt out there where they got wolves and grizzly bears and everything else living with the whitetail. I think that'd be so cool. Because I like that kind of adventure anyway. So putting that mixed in there with whitetails, I think would be fun. I didn't know. I think it's Idaho has like a 6-week gun season or something like that. Something crazy. So you got to kind of deal with that. That's a freaking long time.
West though, there's so many other people hunting other things.
Yeah, true. It's not as popular.
They kind of look at deer like in fishing how we look at carp.
Yeah, well, they also have mule deer there too, so it's like that's usually on people's higher up on their list out there, and then elk also. That's a good point. So maybe it's not that big of an issue. It's just something I was reading about. Andrew, he asked if you'd ever do a workshop in the Southeast, or have you?
Southeast, I have not. I did one in Tennessee once. Maybe sometime. I kind of like the ones at home because I like going over property that I've already hunted.
Yeah.
I think next year we're going to mix it up a little, do a different section of the swamp, just because there's so many return people that come. I don't want them to see the same ground over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. What is, I mean,
like stuff that I've hunted.
Yeah. I mean, I even get questions all the time about doing scouting workshops everywhere, like just wherever, coming here, coming there. Like, I guess just so people know, like, can you talk about some of the challenges of, having people pay you for doing something like that, especially in areas you don't know?
So I do a lot of, like, I have people pay me to scout farms and stuff, and I've been doing a lot less of it in recent years just because my free time is more valuable to me than money of any amount. I want to enjoy the rest of my life. But I've done workshops in Michigan. I've done them in Minnesota. I've done them in Tennessee, and I've scouted properties for people around, And one thing about the workshops, especially on public land, is if you get in certain areas, you can get into an area where there's just no big bucks. You can get into an area that there's 1 or 2 big bucks, and you got to scout that area, find them bucks. And in a day of scouting, I might be able to find 1 or 2 bucks. When I went down and did Tennessee, I went down a day early, scouted land between the lakes. I found where some big bucks were living, but being able to see the sign and show it was hard. I knew they were living on a certain ridge. I knew they were living on a side based on the rub lines coming in and out, but it was hard to show. And it was hard to walk people around and show them all the stuff I saw to see that. I found one classic buck bed that was like perfectly laid out when I scouted that Tennessee. And I'm glad I found it. And, a lot of people really enjoyed that workshop, even though it bothered me immensely that I only have one spot to really show them the workings of that buck. But a lot of people said that they were really happy that I went down there and struggled, because they struggled. And they were thinking that maybe they were doing something wrong because how easy we make it look when I'm scouting in a video or something. So I understood that, but I'd really like a person to go away with a lot of learning. And when we do them in Wisconsin, we go through in an area where I've hunted, where I know how those bucks have bedded, where I've hunted for years. And we look at actual bedding areas where I'm actually killing big bucks on public land. And then we break that down, and how we know the bucks were there, how we look at these edges and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And we go through in a way that the time is more efficient for people to learn. Now, that's not to say there's not value in how I look at a new property and all that stuff. So there's a lot of value in those travel trips. But I do believe, in my opinion, there's a lot more value in the stuff that we're looking at here. It's just that people want me to fly all over the place instead of them flying all over the place. But literally, we have people that fly to my workshops that have come from Canada. We've had them from Nebraska. We've had them from New York. We've had them from Texas. We've had them from everywhere you can imagine.
Yeah.
Around the U.S. and Canada. And they fly in, have a great time, all love it. And that's not to say they don't love it when I travel. But I'm saying, for me, I want people to get as much value as I can give them out of it. And I think if you're looking to learn, it's not that big of a deal to come here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what people keep
Not
wanting.
to mention, I run into issues with laws. Like I was going to go down and do one in Missouri, and I contacted the DNR down there, and they sent me a letter warning me that they would have me arrested if I came down there and did a workshop.
Yeah.
On public land, that to keep that stuff off their public land. So you got to look at these places, and in other places, I've had wardens call me and say, "Hey, you want to do one over here?"
Yeah, right.
So
right.
you really got to look at what you're getting into too. It's not necessarily going to be legal everywhere you go, or wanted by the local people. So at least here, I know it's okay with these people.
Yeah. A few people have more than a few now, but I asked about doing one down here in Hill Country. And it's just like, I mean, it'd take us.
We could, but you got to find a place where we could fit everybody.
Well, that, and it's just, I don't know. It'll take me all day sometimes to get to a spot. Not all day, but it's a 2-mile walk back there, and then you got to get back.
That's the problem with hills, is you got to find the right property for it to be laid out right to be able to take people through and show them some stuff. Because you literally to go look at a crow's foot and then go look at a
point or something with a bed,
and then a point.
Yeah.
By the time you look at those 3 items in just about any hill country, you just spent 2 days.
Yeah, it is that way. And then I'd also really worry about someone getting in over their head, like because you got to be in decent shape to get back there and get back to the truck. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a good idea in the public around here.
Yeah, I would rather if we did it down there is on a well laid out private piece.
Right. Or even maybe you could like haul people around on a side by side, or just something to where you could be more efficient and not spend a bunch of time walking around.
Right.
All right. Redding asks, tips on hunting ag land. I hunt lots of flat ag land in Ohio with little woods.
You hunt a lot of that.
Yeah, I hunt a decent.
You hunt a giant farm that has just a little bit of woods on it.
Yep. And I think my recommendation to you would be the deer. They typically are going to be bedding in little areas where you wouldn't think they would be. For example, if you got a parking lot and there's kind of some little pond, little grown up something on the farm that's catacorning to the parking lot that may only be 100 yards from it or 50 yards from it or something. There may be a buck laying in there looking at you. If you got little patches of tree lines or something out in the middle of your flat land, they'll live in those tree lines too. I think if they're going to be bedding in some like woodlots, small woodlots, a lot of times they're going to be bedding kind of on that one of those edges with the wind to their back, looking out into the fields. Those are probably the 3 biggest things I would suggest to you. Waterways, if you got like waterways in the middle of a cornfield, and you got to get creative with that kind of stuff. There may not be a tree out in a waterway for you to sit in, so you got to sit on the ground or, I shouldn't say cut because that wouldn't be right for the farmer, but find a way to hunt out of the corn or something. I've killed deer in all those situations in those flat lands, but they have to live somewhere on there. If they're there, they're somewhere. So make sure you cover all your bases on your farm.
That was really good. The only thing I would add to that is that when they're on those tree lines and when they're interior in those woodlots, a lot of times they're at the highest or the lowest elevation. So if you look at where when they're in a tree line, where the tree line dips down into a valley, or where it's at the top of a hill. And when they're on in those blocks of timber, when they're not on a downwind edge that Josh was talking about, and they're in an interior transition, it's usually at a lower elevation or a higher elevation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, Elizabeth. Thanks for the donation, Elizabeth. She asked about. Yep. She asked if Beast Gear products will be on display at the shows this year.
Yes.
Oh, Rick answered her question in the comments. I think Rick will be selling it to you at the shows.
Rick will be there. He's going to be a star of the show.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here.
I'm going to wear a wig and a dress so I can walk around and look at stuff without getting bothered.
We're going to be kind of busy. If we have two seminars every day, it looks like. So, other than
if I don't show up for the seminar because I'm wearing a wig and a dress and you can't find me, you're doing seminars.
Yeah. I don't think people would like that.
They might.
You're just sitting in the crowd looking at me in a wig and a dress.
I'll eventually come up to you. I wouldn't leave you hanging for like 20 minutes.
I'm scrolling through the questions here. I got behind. Usually when Dan answers them, I'm not paying attention to Dan. I'm reading questions, and I answered that one and got behind. Let's see here. People are saying, Joe, keep growing your hair, Dan. Starting to get longer.
Yeah, it's a bush right now. I haven't cut it all deer season, so it's just a tangle of stuff. I haven't even pulled all the burrs out yet.
Had to get a dog comb and get them out of there for you.
Yeah.
Would you ever go back to that long hair? I put a picture of you with long hair on the thumbnail today.
I don't know. Maybe. Probably not.
I
thought about it for a little bit. Everybody's always saying you should wear the hair long again. And my brother's always had short hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he's going through a midlife crisis or whatever. He's got his wife died. He's got a new wife. And all of a sudden he's growing his hair out and it's all gray and stuff. And you look at that with that long hair and you think, what the hell?
Oh,
yeah, I ain't doing that. I don't want to look like that.
Yeah.
Young guys have long hair. Old guys look like hippies that never came back from the 60s.
I didn't think about the gray factor there. I just get
I'm not gray yet, but I'm starting to. When I edit video and stuff, and I look back at that old video and stuff, man, it wasn't too many years ago. My whole beard was black. Now it's like the only thing I got is my mustache.
Yeah.
Turning white. My hair is going to be white next, just is what it is.
I was thumbing through some old videos too. And, just like, I still like you do look like a different person now with your weight loss and stuff. So I know that's, something that you really worked on the last couple of years. I just forgot. Go ahead.
I want to put out some more of those vintage videos. It'd be kind of funny looking at Fat Dan, Skinny Dan. It's kind of like Fat Elvis. Fat Dan chasing a coon and Skinny Dan talking about it.
We should get a shirt that has you, Fat Dan and Skinny Dan on it. Oh, that's hilarious. Someone's asking, where's the Michigan show at?
Where is it at?
It's at the Mobile Hunters Expo is what it's called.
Yeah, you should be able to Google it. They got some advertisements out there for it. So
yeah,
I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about it when it comes up. That ain't until July. So I haven't really been paying too much attention.
Yeah, I think they have them. Let's see here. They've been announcing a whole bunch of their speakers, and they got a bunch of pretty good ones too. It's in July 28th and 29th. Let's see here. I'm not seeing it's in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Kalamazoo.
And we're planning on doing a live show there, right live with the audience. So anybody that comes there can be, we'll be sitting there doing this live.
Yeah. It'll be a good one too. We'll have to think about how we want to structure it and all that, but it'll be fun. But at the the ones we're doing in March here, those are actually seminars about, killing deer on public land consistently. Oh, Mike asked, do we weigh our deer? I do if it's convenient. I think about it, but I'm horrible about that kind of stuff. Some of my buddies get real frustrated with me. Gary gets real frustrated with me. Specifically, he's always asking me what something weighed, and I didn't weigh it. It's in the freezer, man.
Yeah, I kind of regret not weighing a couple of them. I mean, there was that one that bottomed out at 300-pound scale, field dressed. I probably should have figured out exactly what that deer weighed. I think it was a monster. And actually, the one I shot 2 seasons ago, that thing had to be at least 240 dressed. We could hardly even move that thing. It was a monster of a deer, and I have no idea. I've never really cared too much about the weight or score too much. It's it's just nice deer. You shoot it, and then you celebrate for 15 minutes, and it's on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
There's like that whole serial killer thing is kind of like for real. It's like you get your little ornament from what you killed, and then you're off to the next one, and you really you're obsessed with it until you get it, and then you just I don't even have to have them hanging on my wall. It doesn't, once they're done, they're done. It's like I got them all right now, just sitting at some taxidermist. I haven't even gone to see that deer that I shot 2 seasons ago, that monster. I've never even seen it. I've never gone down there.
Oh,
never
really?
Bothered. Yeah. To me, I'm not obsessed with that stuff. I want to get the next one. The next one obsesses me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm thinking about the ones I know about, the ones I've showed and the ones I haven't showed, that I want to keep under my hat for a while because other people know about them and I'll give too much away.
Yeah.
But that's my thing, is I'm always thinking about that next one. It's always the game, the piece, the puzzle, how am I going to get this thing? And some of them are probably impossible that I'll never, ever get. And some of them probably got a little more of a chance than others. But that's my thing. It's not, I don't really dwell on the past.
Yeah. How did you get the name serial killer, the big buck serial killer?
I don't want to name the idiot who gave me the nickname, but it was a tree stand thief.
Oh.
But he called me a serial killer because of I just keep going out killing deer and putting them on the wall, and at the same time, there's all these news articles coming out about how serial killers always take an item from who they kill, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
The item kind of thing. It was just,
I got you. I always wondered that. I never really knew for sure how that came about. All right.
I remember my daughter a while back bought me a truck for my birthday, and she had all over the truck she had my name and business. At that time I was pretty big on the scouting people's properties.
Yeah. And
she put on the back of the truck the big buck serial killer. And I remember pulling into a garden store, kind of one of those places where a lot of tree huggers hang out.
Yeah, like a nursery or something.
Some guy went nuts on me. I thought I was going to have to fight him.
Jeez.
I mean, he's like, really? And he's pointing at it, and I'm like, what are you talking about? The big buck serial killer. You proud of that? I was like, yeah. Just when I walked away, I thought the guy was going to come charging me. I mean, he was so irate and angry over that. And I thought, you'd think even an anti-hunter would just like roll their eyes and laugh a little.
Yeah.
Just shows you how obsessed some of those people are.
Yeah.
There's nut jobs everywhere.
You've had that name forever then.
Oh yeah. It's been around a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't really put stickers on your vehicle anymore, do you? You got one, I guess.
I get in trouble. Just, it's like crazies are attracted to me. I don't need to attract anymore.
Yeah, someone was asking me about, he's like, you ought to put your logos on your truck and stuff. I'm like, no, it's all right.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mind if people come up to me and say hi or hang out. I'm not talking about that.
Right.
About anti-hunters and stalkers and things like that. I mean, I've always been, I shouldn't say always, but the more I get to appreciate life as I get older, the more I start to appreciate the people who look up to me and follow me and stuff. And you kind of feel blessed that people actually look at you in a positive light. It's the ones that look at you in a negative light that I don't like.
Right. Those are the crazies you're talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's the craziest thing that's happened to you in the woods? I can start if you okay. I don't know if nothing really happened to me, but I was the weirdest thing, I guess. I was scouting in Kentucky, and I drove down this like gravel road that led up to the public land, and it's in to be frank, it's kind of in eastern Kentucky, and people tend to be a little rough around the edges. And I had to go over this 1-lane bridge, and when there's like a house that like no front door on the house, and someone was living there, just a real rough area. And it looked like they owned a junkyard, but it wasn't a junkyard, and I got down to the public land, and the parking spot, there wasn't anybody, looked like there'd been anybody there in a long time. That things were grown up and grown over on the public land parking spot. And I hopped down, you go out of the parking spot, and it was in the hills, and you had to go through like a creek in the hills and then go back up into the hills. And I hopped out of the parking lot, went down this creek, and as soon as I hit the little walking trail that was all grown over, there was a great big sword stuck in the ground with a Chucky head, like the sword was through the Chucky head, and it was sitting there all right in the middle of the trail. And I was kind of freaked me out, honestly.
Sword.
A big, like a gigantic sword.
So you got a free sword?
Yeah. No, I'll be honest with you. I didn't go in there. I probably should have. I think about that often, but this was a long time ago. I mean, this was.
That's not a bad idea. I go down to places. I've been down in Indiana. You keep people out of those places by putting swords through Chucky heads. And putting them in
yeah, and they had like painted blood. It was pretty gory looking, but I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to run into these people.
Maybe it was just a Halloween thing. Was it around Halloween?
No, it would have been September. But anyway.
Craziest I've had so much crap happen to me over the years.
Yeah.
I think the craziest thing that I can think of off the top of my head, I think less than 50% of the people here would believe me. So I contemplated, maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's true. So I'll say it. I was walking out through a field with my brother Bob, and we were going to go scouting. We're going to go set up a spot. And the trail in the field, the dirt road, kind of took a bend, like a 30-degree bend at a tree line. And when you come around the tree line, you're just suddenly like into the next field. Mm-hmm. And when we came around this corner, there was a hawk like 20 yards in front of us, on top of a rabbit. Mm-hmm. And I've always had this instinct to just chase and catch stuff. And I thought I could catch this hawk. And I ran at this hawk as fast as I could. And it started flying away with this rabbit. And it was having a hard time getting off the ground because the rabbit, rabbit's a pretty big animal for a bird. And he got just barely off the ground and got about head level and realized I was going to get him. So he let go of the rabbit. And I caught the rabbit in midair. And the rabbit was still alive. It was hurt. It had some blood in its eyes. But other than that, it was just fine. It was like the claws got into its head a little bit. And I actually ended up letting the rabbit go. But I actually caught the rabbit. It dropped it right into my hands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Too bad we didn't have that on video. That would be viral.
Yeah, right.
Another one was I found a dead full curl ram in the middle of a marsh, like miles and miles from the shore out in the cattails.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was somebody's pet or something because out here there's no sheep or anything. But
yeah. Let's see here. Any change in tactics during the dreaded October lull? Not for me. I essentially, I'm still hunting. If I have a tag during October lull, I'm still going after them.
Killed a lot of my biggest bucks in that lull. So the thing is with the October lull, I mean, I believe there is a period of time in October where deer slow down and move a little less in daylight. But when you hunt near bedding areas and you're within 100 yards of beds, they move that far in daylight no matter what. So you're seeing them anyways. Maybe you're not seeing them at an hour and a half before dark, but you're seeing them before dark. You still have shooting. So if they're in there, you're getting a shot at them. So it really doesn't affect me bed hunting.
Yeah. Let's see here. Matthew asked if I've ever walked up on a deer that wasn't dead. Yeah, when I was little, I had that happen to me. I think I talked about that once here a few weeks ago. Having to finish one off when I was little, kind of learning that process and how it's not real fun all the time. It happens, man. It's happened to me more than that. It's not something that's like real pleasant to talk about, but it happens. What's the farthest in you killed a deer?
How far back?
Yeah, how far back? I thought when I scanned the question, I thought he was going to ask what's the farthest we've killed a deer, like how far we've shot, but how far back? I don't know. That deer I killed in Wisconsin with Gary was a kind of a crappy drag. I don't know how far exactly it was, but maybe that was the farthest back one.
Mile or what?
Probably.
3 miles?
Probably a mile. I don't think it was more than that. The deer Gary killed last year in Indiana was a haul. I'm horrible about like tracking how far I've walked and stuff though.
Yeah. My answer probably would have been different before the workshops, but somebody measured the distance to that island. So now I know that it was 3 miles to that island. I've shot one on that island, so that's 3 miles.
Is that how far that is?
2.9 or something like that. But that was how we walked. So it's probably, we did go a little bit around about.
Yeah.
So let's say
couple.
It's over 2 for sure. But I know a straight line in the Conservancy with Mario. I shot bucks twice. That's 2 miles plus straight line from where I was hunting to the truck. And it ain't no straight line going back.
Yeah.
So that was probably 3 miles. I remember getting deer out of there. The one buck we shot, we went out there, and I believe it was the first time we ever went out there. We mapped it out. We were going to go out there, and me and Mario went out there. You had to take this one way in and J hook to the spot we wanted to go to for 2 reasons: not to spook the deer, number one, and number two, because the access was so rough to go from any other direction, because there was a creek you had to cross. There's nasty swamp you had to go through, marsh. So we get out there, and I got in a tree, and I heard a deer walking away, and I was fighting with another deer. I'd seen him going in. I kept bumping these bucks, and they kept going in the direction I was going, and they weren't really bothered. And when I got in the tree, a little while after getting in the tree, I heard something get up in the swamp and start walking. And then I heard rattling, like not rattling, but sparring. And they kept going, and they would fight again. And then I realized they weren't going to come anywhere near me. So I grunted at them, and they got dead quiet. And you could hear every step they took. So I knew they were listening, like for where the sound came from. And then they started walking again, and the one kept going, and the other one came straight to me, walked out and started rubbing a tree underneath me, and then walked out and I shot it. And I didn't want to just get down because Mario was hunting. So I sat till dark. I remember we're well over 2 miles. So then finally, when I got down, Mario came over to meet me, and we went out to look for this buck. We couldn't find it right away. We couldn't find any blood. And it took us a while to find it, and it was right at dark. Right at like black when we found it. Yeah. And so then we're that far back with all our equipment and stuff. So we called some friends and stuff. to meet us at the truck, and we took our equipment back. And then we walked back. Remember, we had never been out there, so we got lost going back. And because it was really a funny way you had to go. If you just went a little bit off, you'd get into some stuff where you couldn't get through it. And you'd have to find the trail again, and because we'd never been back there before. And so then we got all the way back, met up with our friends, went all the way back out there to fetch the deer, got the deer, dragged the deer all the way back. And when we got back to the truck with the deer, it was daylight the next day.
Yeah, geez.
So it was 2 miles straight line, but I'd be willing to bet it was close to 3 miles the way we went in and out.
Yeah. My Ohio buck was really far in, but I don't know how far. I couldn't really tell you. But also, like, if you're allowed to pack them out, that like changes things a lot. Being able to pack a deer out helps a lot.
But even so, I mean, we packed that deer that I shot out. We still got all our equipment we got to carry and stuff.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. I don't know. I keep thinking of other deer, but yeah, I've killed some way back there, but I don't know how I'd be lying to you if I told you a number. This is actually a pretty good question from Adam, because everybody's eventually going to run into this. Dan, is your age changing how you hunt yet? Are you planning to modify the mobile tactics in the future? You have an exercise regimen or anything like that?
For exercise, I chase possums. I mean, your age is constantly working against you. So, I mean, I'd like to tell you it hasn't had any effect, but it probably affects me a little bit, but not a lot. I'm still going out and doing long distance hunts, and I'm still going out in them swamps and doing this stuff. And I think I can do it as long as I keep doing it. I don't think you could take somebody my age and start them out doing this and do it to the degree I'm doing it. I think they would not be able to do it. I think the stamina of me just never ever stopping has kept that momentum going. I think if I ever sat on a chair and gave up a year or something, I'd be done. But I will do it as long as I can, as long as I keep moving. I mean, I get to the point where my knees hurt real bad, my body hurts and stuff. I have a thing with me with mental aptitude where I can just shut that down. I can just shut down the cold, the pain, the whatever, and just march forward, 1 foot in front of the other, head in the right direction. Eventually you get there. Now, I will say that I do catch myself not hunting some of the stuff that's like 2 or 3 miles back where you got to swim through waist deep stuff as much as I did when I was younger, for sure.
Yeah.
But it bothers me immensely, which pushes me into doing it more often.
Yeah.
So, but it's still not as much as I did when I was younger.
Right.
But I would say that for my age, I get after it. I don't stop. I don't settle down. I look at it kind of a different way than other people do. You hear other people go, well, I got to watch it at my age, and something could happen to me. I could get hurt out there or something. And I look at it as like I only got so much time to live left in this earth. I mean, I just want to go out there and live. To me, this is life. You take away my hunting, you take away what I do, you take away my life. This is what I do. This is who I am.
Yeah.
It's not a hobby. Hunting is who I am. It's what I'm, it's in my DNA. So you can't take that away from me. I want to just keep doing it till I drop.
Yep, for sure. When I was in Illinois, there's a pretty old gentleman hunting the same piece of public. One night I was hunting. We weren't in the same area or anything. But he just had a bucket and a crossbow with him, and he was probably pushing 80 years old, and we met up on the trail to go back to the parking lot, and he actually was sitting there waiting on me because he saw my flashlight, and we got to talking. We just were BSing for a long time, and I bet his phone rang 5 or 6 times while we were sitting there talking. He just sat there and ignored it, and then finally he goes, I probably better answer this. I'm sure this is my daughter making sure I'm not dead out here. And he's like, they're always bugging me, and I just assume die out here, I'm like, yeah. He goes, I've been doing it my whole life, and they think I'm going to die out here. you know.
Everybody always thinks that, even when you're younger. I mean, I remember when I was a young man, you know, right around 17, 18, out hunting, and you'd go kill a deer. And there was no cell phones back then, so it'd take you a long time to get back. You'd drag in the thing and stop it over here and there. I can remember being with a friend, and we're dragging a deer back. And all of a sudden, through the woods, you know, like a mile back, you can hear my mom's frantic voice yelling, "Danny, Danny." And I was so pissed off and irritated by that. And now I look back at it with a smile and wish I could have her yelling my name one more time, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's what people do. They worry. And it's like Carol, I got that out of her. She don't worry about me no more.
Yeah.
Like if I kill a deer or something, I might be out there all night and not come back till the next day. I mean, even on a work night, I might not come back till into my work day or whatever, or maybe not even come back at all, maybe go straight to work. And I don't call her or anything, and she's okay with that. I mean, it's me. It's who I am.
Yeah.
And these kids nowadays, they'll tell me, "Oh, you got to have a cell phone with you. You got to do this. You got to do that. It's the right thing to do. It's a safe." No, geez, man, live life. Everybody dies, and everybody goes out and has fun and does things. And so what? I mean, if I die out in the woods, that's the greatest thing that could ever happen. My only fear in dying is getting cancer or getting some crazy disease or something and dying slow. My dream to die would be to die hunting a grizzly bear with a spoon. I'd have a giant smile on my face. That would be it.
There you go.
So you got to live life. Go out and have fun. Just dive in, go at it.
Maybe Dan will be like, I don't know, like 94 years old, and he'll be sitting in some state-of-the-art beast stand that he designed the year before, and he'll shoot like a 190-inch deer and just have a heart attack right there, and we'll find him dead in his tree stand. Maybe that'd be the perfect way for Dan Infalt, the legend, to be.
Well, it'd be nice if one of the hunters could hunt me, right? Have a grizzly bear get me or something.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know.
That'd be kind of cool. Like everybody can just wonder. All they find is my bloody hat. What happened? What happened? Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Living in Canada.
Never find a hair nor bone of you or anything. Just find that one of those medallions you wear on your hat.
Yeah.
Never know.
Rest assured, nothing killing me anytime soon.
Yep. You must have, though, and we'll end it on this one, guys. Sorry if we didn't get to your question, but you must have a few years ago. You must have been feeling some kind of way because of. I mean, you got motivated to lose all that weight. I mean, that's something that's hard.
Yeah, it was getting on me. I mean, it was harder and harder to push further and further, and I was really getting heavy. I mean, I got up to 260. I mean, that's I didn't even. You don't see it on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw that on a scale, I'm like, 260? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I thought, I got to do something about this. You know, weight loss, you know, everybody wants to sell you a program. Everybody wants to sell you something when you need something. You know what I mean? And I noticed as soon as I started losing weight, all these people, even some people in the hunting industry that I really look up to, who I won't name and embarrass, but came to me and said, "Hey, I got a program to lose weight. We'd like you to sell it." Why? Because I lost weight? You know, you want me to lie about it?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to sell this crap. And you know how you lose weight? It's sheer
discipline,
mental power.
Yeah.
You gotta, it's just like hunting. The reason I can lose weight is the same reason I can kill big bucks. You gotta really want it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to a point where I really wanted it, it was easy to do. I just didn't eat.
Yeah.
Period. You know, I fixed my diet. I stopped eating sugar. I only ate once a day. And you take care of it. If you really want something, you can do it. You just have to be motivated and really believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something else, if people would like to take a day and just write down what they eat, they'll probably be shocked at how many calories they're taking in, you know, especially, I mean, heavier people, you know, you get in these habits of eating these little things. You don't think anything of it. You know, I'll have a cookie this morning, and then I'll have a Twinkie here. You know, just you get in these habits of these little bitty snacks that you think are harmless, but then at the end of the day, you know, you're eating an extra 5,000 calories worth of crap. You know, but I got to watch that too, especially since I work from home here. Like I can go to the cupboard and get snacks. You know,
Friends tell me that like you don't understand. It's my metabolism. Yeah, it's the way I am. I can't lose weight. It's my body doesn't regulate it the same as yours. And it's like, really? It's math. It's mathematics. Calories in, calories out. And I don't care who you are. That's what it is. You put any one of those guys on alone and have them sit on an island and not eat for a month, they'll get skinny, just like everybody else on that show.
Yeah.
It's calories in, calories out.
Mm-hmm. I had a friend I work with. I better not say this because he watches this sometimes, and I don't want his wife to find out. So, anyway, everybody have a great night. Sorry if we didn't get to your questions. Next week's going to be kind of weird because we got something going on next week, but we'll try to do something, figure something out. It won't be Thursday night, but if we don't see you guys early next week, we'll see you sometime next week. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for everybody getting on. Make sure you hit the like button before you leave and subscribe if you haven't. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.